Hello everyone, welcome to another episode on It's Time. On this episode, I'll be talking about spending 10 years of your life as an entrepreneur or 10 years of your life as an employee. Which would you choose? This episode is inspired by a personal story in 2009. In 2009, I was a banker. As you know, I worked in the bank for 10 years. And I visited one of my customers in those days. He was a poultry farmer. At the time, he had 200,000 birds on one of his farms. He collected 180,000 eggs a day on his farm. So I went to him and I said, "Mr. Che, you look like you are very, very successful at this. It looks like you are very comfortable too. Why did you decide to start this farm?" He looked at me and said, "Young man, which would you do? Spend 10 years of your life at the bank as an employee or 10 years of your life as an entrepreneur?" He says, "You really want to be successful based on your question, but I want to ask you, when you think about successful people and rich people, what comes to mind? Does the image of an employee come to your mind or the image of an entrepreneur?" I took a minute to think and I realized every rich person I knew was an entrepreneur, not an employee. And from that day, I began to aspire to be an entrepreneur. But the road to entrepreneurship is hard, is what he was telling me. He's saying, you sacrifice 10 years of your life as an entrepreneur, you are going to suffer many things. Some of the things you are going to suffer are, one, you need to let go your ego. When you start a business, it takes a lot out of you. There are times when you need a deal, you need an opportunity, and people are going to disrespect you. Sometimes people are going to treat you in a way that you won't appreciate. But it's part of becoming an entrepreneur. It's part of surviving as an entrepreneur. And so one of the things I want you to keep in mind as you think about starting a business is, remember that when you start a business, you need to let go some ego, because your ego is going to be bruised every now and then. I remember when I started my business, I had this supplier who had employees who were younger than me, but felt that they didn't want to deal with me because I didn't have a ton of money and I wasn't buying so much from them. Fast forward 4 years, the same people see me and smile and say, "Hello, Mr. Latte, you are welcome." And I go like, really? What has changed? But those are some of the predicaments of being an entrepreneur. The second thing about being an entrepreneur versus being an employee is, in certain months you won't get paid. And I have had to sacrifice and suffer that for a longer period than I expected. But these are some of the pains of being an entrepreneur. But I want to say that eventually it is worth it. Eventually it is worth it. The other thing everybody needs to keep in mind as an entrepreneur is every penny you have counts. You need to stretch your money as long as possible to keep you till you make your next income. And so entrepreneurship calls on every person a lot of discipline, a lot of management, a lot of thinking, a lot of strategizing. Things that you will normally do, you will not be able to do as an entrepreneur in the short term, but it is worth it. The Bible talks about two paths in the world. It talks about the narrow path that is difficult to ply, and talks about the wide path that almost everybody takes. Entrepreneurship is not the wide path. It is the narrow path that only a few courageous people are able to ply. I want to encourage you, if you really, really desire to do entrepreneurship, remember the road is narrow and tough, but it's worth it at the end. The last thing I took from that conversation that day with Mr. Che was, it takes a while. It takes a minimum of 10 years to actually make money as an entrepreneur. And not just to actually make money to spend, but to actually make money and be comfortable. I've seen many people start businesses 1 year, 2 years, and they are flaunting money all around. I'm happy if somebody is able to successfully do that in a very short time. But what I'm trying to say is that it takes a while. You need a lot of patience and you need a lot of staying power to actually make money as an entrepreneur. But one of the things that encourages me is that, how do I want to retire? Do I want to retire with a money-making machine that I have worked for 10 to 20 years and I can depend on without necessarily having to sweat the machine? Or will I be willing to be retired with a handshake and some money to go home with and to say, thank you very much, we appreciated your service, and we'll hire somebody else? Which one would you like? I think my recommendation to all young people, all aspiring entrepreneurs, is choose the hard way. Which would you do? 10 years as an entrepreneur or 10 years as an employee? Make a choice and see you in the next episode. If this struck any chord in you, if this spoke to you in any way, I want to encourage you to subscribe, click the like button, share the video, and let's build strong entrepreneurs on this continent that change the fortunes and the destiny of Africa. I aspire to see a prosperous, successful, thriving Africa with lots of businesses that can make the people of Africa happy and well-to-do people. Thank you for watching this episode, and see you in the next episode. It is time to build a great Africa.